Hey guys, so here we are in beautiful, the Aussie bush. We just love it. We love getting out on the bikes. The guys are always on my case because they're going on about how I take them down dirt roads and that. But that's how you find these sort of places. I mean, look around us. This is just flipping amazing. You know, we've got the bush, we've got the lake just over here. We've had tiger moths flying overhead. I mean, there's just heaps going on. But I want to introduce you to a good mate of mine, Jace, and we're just going to find out a little bit about Jace's story.
Well, I grew up copping a lot of physical and emotional abuse from a stepdad, but I never knew my real dad at the time. And then, so because I copped a lot over the years, I think it started to mess with my head. And then because he was just a person that was just full of hate and anger, and I think that was sort of instilled into me from him. And and then later on, I was in a certain religion, and and I think I just got to the point where I just realised that this religion just wasn't for me, and and it was something that sort of completely changed my mind on God and Jesus. And I basically gave up and just didn't want to be around Christians, and and I just didn't want to go to church.
So would you say that at that time in your life, your experience of God was more based on attending somewhere, following sort of rules, so to speak, more than an actual real relationship, discovering God's love? Is that a fair assessment, do you think, of?
Oh, very much so.
Yep.
So about roughly around about 3 years ago, just before I came to Long Riders, I had a motorbike accident that almost took my life.
Yep.
And then, I look back at it now and realise I shouldn't be here. But at the time, I didn't realise that, and because I was badly injured, I had a lot of time off work, so I was recovery.
Yep.
And I had a lot of that time to start to think about, why am I still here? There's got to be something behind it.
Because at some point you were sort of almost on the atheistic thing, weren't you?
I was an atheist.
Yeah. So you basically totally decided that God wasn't real, that there wasn't, someone who had not just created and designed us, but someone who wanted an intimate relationship with us.
It was a series of events. So after I recovered, I had family that were born again Christians.
Yep.
And they invited me to the Raymond Terrace Church, community church, and this was, so COVID had already hit.
Yep.
So once things started to open back up again, there was a certain number of people that could just attend for like a meal and a bit of a catch up, just to sort of catch up on things. But so I went along probably about maybe 4 or 5 times. And I was doing it like once every couple of weeks. So I started going along, and because I thought at the time, maybe, I knew at some point there must have been a higher power behind it. And then when I started going there, I started questioning God. Okay, God, I'm here. Obviously you brought me here for a reason. So it just got to the point, every time I was going, I was getting more and more frustrated, because I felt like God wasn't answering me. He wasn't telling me. And then on the last time I went there, I just said, threw my hands up and said, right, God, this is it. Unless I'm shown something, then I'm just walking away. I'm not going to bother. And it was at that very moment is when one of my brothers now, who actually sat down in front of me, and that's why I believe that God put him in my path.
Thanks for sharing a bit of your story, and like every story, we're only doing snapshots, but it's really good. Can you tell me, if you could encourage someone with one thought, maybe someone who's like you were, stuck in a rut, in a place where they're not sensing that God's presence, or they're wondering even if God is even there, even real, what would be the one thing that you could encourage them with?
I think the most important thing I could encourage people is don't give up. Like I almost did. And one thing about God, he will answer you, and it's always in his timing. You might think that that God's not real. You might think that he's not listening, but he really is. And from my experience, it's like, I thought that, God didn't exist, and but then he started to show me things.
Yeah, cool.
And then it just developed from there. So yeah, don't give up. Just try to be encouraged.
Yep.
And I know as hard as it is, it depends on what you're going through.
Sure.
Even just rip the Bible out and just have, just read some passages, there's so many things in there that are so encouraging.
Yep.
And there's always something in there that will benefit you. So
thanks heaps for sharing, man. Really cool. And see you on the road.